Hey everyone, I hope everybody is doing well on this October evening, getting close to Halloween. Oh boy. Um, and speaking of Halloween, this movie that I'm probably going to do a film analysis on is a little spooky, but the way that, it has been transformed made it a little lighter, but it's still kind of a spooky movie. So, for those who don't know, I used to be a film student at Portland State University. I did not wear this shirt just because it's just like I'm there. I'm home in the afternoon. I just want to get into something cozy. All right. So there's that. Being a film student at Portland State, we had to take film analysis class. Was it a fun class? No. It's not really the most fun class, but what you take away from it is so rewarding. Like, even years later, I would watch a movie and try to analyze it in my mind, similar to how Jehovah's Witnesses will analyze the Bible in their mind. Pretty interesting how that works. So, a personal backstory with Phantom of the Opera. We're looking at the 2004 Phantom of the Opera, and the one with Gerald Butler, the younger Gerald Butler. And we got some people that were in there that, aside from Gerald Butler, I knew Gerald Butler. Like, he was already a big name at that time. But we got the gal who played the older sister and guardian from Shameless. You got the guy who, played Aquaman's half-brother. And then the prima donna, she was already famous on her own by playing Jane Foster in Tarzan. I didn't even know that until I had to look her up because I was like, "What? That name looks familiar. That name sounds familiar." So we kind of have an all-star cast with the 2004 Phantom of the Opera. So, a personal backstory with Phantom of the Opera. I loved that movie when I was little. I have a very special memory with it when I was camping. So, it really, it was one of those movies that, even as a kid, like, I would watch musicals. And a lot, this is how small my world was as a kid. I never really listened to a lot of the pop songs at the time. I just listened to musicals. That's how small my world is. I thought that was it. It's pretty funny how that works. So, looking at Phantom of the Opera, again, it's Halloween, and it is spooky. And even for those who don't celebrate Halloween for religious reasons, we feel it. It's a little spooky. So, Phantom of the Opera, originally it was a novel, a series, like a novel series, kind of similar in a way, different novel series that we could have thought about, but we never really thought Phantom of the Opera to be a novel. But hey, entertainment got to start somewhere in the 1800s. So fast forward to Universal to when it was its first movie. I could be wrong, but if I were to draw a parallel, I think it was Universal, because during that time, 1930s, they were doing their own like cinematic universe with all these horror, like Mummy, Dracula, Frankenstein, and to have Phantom of the Opera in the mix, it just makes sense. And it wasn't even a musical at that point; it was just a horror movie. And for us in today's world, the horror that was at that time probably wasn't scary for us. So anyhow, years later, Andrew Lloyd Webber took Phantom of the Opera and made it into a musical, like its own opera musical. What is opera? Opera is its own art where a lot of the dialogue, if not 100% of the dialogue, you're singing, and you have to be skilled. And it was more like, I could never replicate it, but you can look it up yourself. It's insane. I could never do it, even though I did sing in karaoke. So Andrew Lloyd Webber made it into a Broadway show, classic. It's run for 40 years until it just discontinued because it was so old. And then he partnered up with a director. I I don't know about the director's credits at that time, but they partnered up, they talked about it, and they made it into Phantom of the Opera that we know and love and all that. So that's kind of the backstory from my personal knowledge and understanding of Phantom of the Opera. So to start off, it's great that they did a musical. Like, it's such a timeless classic to do Phantom of the Opera, the musical. And also there's a little bit of a spooky element to it. And I'm one of those people, one of those rare people, is like, I know that opera is an art, but it's like, some people like certain art more than others, and some people dislike certain art than others. I'm one of those people that dislike opera because it's so, for me, you can take it or leave it. For me, it's so annoying. It's almost like, mosquitoes running around my head, and I'm like, get away. So last night, I just decided to go down the rabbit hole and read the script, the movie script. And just, aside from, number points, well-known numbers like All I Ask of You, Musical of the Night, Masquerade, Point of No Return, and Think of Me, those numbers, right? So I ran all the dialogue just, in the script. If you look at the Phantom of the Opera script, they were singing when the dialogue is in italics. So I look at the italics and be like, okay, let's see if I can try and do it through normal dialogue. So I did that. And it was a completely different tone. If you do regular talking, it's a different tone. Especially, the night after Christine's debut in that movie. It was, with the opera singing, it made it a little bit lighter, but when I did the talking, it was like, it's a little more serious. And it was a lot darker, too. Like, the movie is already a dark tone to begin with. There is Phantom, and he is a mysterious creature, a mysterious man hiding in the shadows of the opera. And if people don't obey him, there's consequences, and the consequences are really scary. It could result in death, and he does, and a lot of the dialogue with Phantom, where it's like in the italic, where he would be singing it, and all these, threats, it sound like, even talking these certain threats, like, will death upon you, or something like that. It is so dark. I mean, I'm sure, it was like, singing it, I've heard Gerald Butler singing, and that was powerful, but to hear these powerful, dialogue from Phantom and just talking, it was so dark, it was so heavy. And even when reading parts where, even after Christine removed the mask, and he just went feral, it was like, through singing, it's hard to understand sometimes. But when you hear the dialogue, it is so, like, it was so raw. It was so, like, for him to say, you don't understand how I'm feeling. Talking to a child like Christine. It was, and the gal, Emmy, she was 17 when she was in that movie. So, yeah, a little child. So, even though Phantom is dark, he has his moments of being a diva. That, the only time when I was reading the script where he was like such a big diva was when he reappeared at the end of the Masquerade number, and he's like, "Miss me? I have written an opera." And he would kind of go to, like, some of the, the prima donna and probably her lover. As a kid, I still see them as lovers. He's like, "You are out. You will be my main guy. You need to lose weight." So it's like he's such a diva in that moment. But most of the time he is just raw and dark and just like, and also going with Christine, she is very, I sympathize with the little girl. Like, she is so naive and so innocent. Like, she really thought that, it was the angel of music. She thought it was a literal angel that her father, who passed away when she was young, sent her. And it was like her world just shattered, knowing that it was not a literal angel. It was someone of death, someone who's a bad guy, someone who's just like, oh. So I can feel Christine. It was like, it's so heartbreaking for her. And even with Raul, who's her, childhood sweetheart, who eventually became her husband at the end of the movie, off screen. We know that in near the end of the movie, we see an older Raul visiting Christine at her grave. So Raul was like very like kind of reassuring. He steps in and tries to. Christine was very confused, and Raul, who's older, he's like, "Here's the truth," and she trusted him with them. Now, going back with going onto a different topic about like the debate of whom Christine should be with. Pretty obvious, it was Raul. And some people would say, oh, Phantom, because sure, there is a, sexual magnet between the two of them. But when you look at it, it's like, if Phantom is the same age as Madame Geary, who is her friend's mom, he's too old for her to begin with. Way too old for her. And he is so dark, and his intentions are not great. Christine, teenager, she wants to be free. She wants to see the world, and he wants to trap her in darkness. He wants to trap her in that lair as love. And also, he doesn't know love to begin with. So he has all the red flags, and also he's a murderer. How many people did he murder? I'm not going to spoil too much, but he murdered more than one. And that makes it so dark. And he's like, it's got to be my way or the highway. For Raul, he is close to the same age as Christine. They've known each other since they were little, and they reunited as older folks, late teens, early 20s. He understands her. He respects her. Most importantly, he protects her. He knows that she is fearful. He knows that she's in danger. So he has to protect her. And that is like, for any girl who is looking for a guy, Raul is like a green flag. And, even he was willing to sacrifice his life for her so that, she could be free or whatever the case may be. Like, he was ready for Phantom to take him. Like, that's how deep it was. Deep that love is. It's like you can really, if love means sacrificing your life for someone, that would be it. So it's like for people who are like, oh, she belongs with Derek. No, I'm sorry, no. It's not that way. So anyhow, let's recap a little bit here as we wrap it up. So Phantom of the Opera, with the musical, it makes it a little lighter. If we're having a talking dialogue without it having any opera element to it, like they have in the musical, it would be so much darker. It would be more like confusion, a lot more, it feels more like a horror movie. More like a thriller, more like a, suspense kind of movie. And for these characters, Phantom is such a dark character, walking red flag to begin with. Christine, lovely young lady with so much talent, but she is very naive. And to know that her world, within these walls, knowing that, whoever she thinks it is, wasn't, that shattered her world. And whom she would be with, definitely Raul, not the Phantom, even though there is a little bit of a sexual tension between Phantom and Christine. It's a lot healthier with Raul. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this kind of film analysis on Phantom of the Opera. And let me know what you think. I'm kind of interested in doing more of these because it's really fun though to dig deep into this. So yeah, talk to you guys later.